Welcome back. Ole Miss is cruising into Week 7, undefeated at 5-0, and they're set to host a stiff test this Saturday, Ruben.
Yeah, it might be tougher than it looks on paper, right? Washington State coming to town, and Rebels head coach Lane Kiffin sounding the alarm that it won't be an easy matchup.
And to continue the conversation about Ole Miss, you can't talk about them without having this guy in the conversation. He is the host of the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, which you can catch on the 24+ app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcast. Welcome to the program once again, Mr. Stephen Willis. You know I got to give you the one clap.
All right. It's almost like he's a quarterback, Stephen.
That's why I do it.
But you're not a quarterback.
I do it. The QB. Yeah. QB1.
Yeah.
Definitely not a quarterback.
I think he's living vicariously.
Yes, through anybody.
I live through Trinidad. That's my guy. Vicariously through Trinidad. Don't get me started.
Stephen, let's start with you so I don't have to listen to him talk about Trinidad. First of all, let's talk about it. Realistically, how much of a challenge is Washington State? I know we all want to say, you can't mess up. They're going to be tougher than they look and all that. But what are we really talking about here?
I think the line is pretty close to accurate. Ole Miss is favored by 33 points. Now, Washington State is
Wait, say that again.
Ole Miss is favored by 33 points. So it could get one-sided. But this is the thing that everybody needs to realize. Washington State actually might be the team that throws the ball, has the best passing game of any team that Ole Miss has played this far. They're an air raid team. They were schooled under Ben Arbuckle, who's at Oklahoma. It's those guys. So they pass the ball and they catch the ball very well. They're completing about 70% of their passes. They don't complete for a lot of yards and they don't score a lot of points because this is a first-year coach and everything's just a little bit clunky. But this is something that is carrying over right now. And if Washington State has a path in this game, that's the path.
So for Ole Miss, is this a game where we might see bigger roles for Caden Lee or Keywan Lacey? It feels like Keywan Lacey at the beginning of the season, I was saying he had some Doak Walker buzz. And then it seems like defenses were able to key in on him. He's only getting like 2 yards, 3 yards a game, but they're still feeding him. Do you feel like this is the game where he kind of explodes again? Or even, like I said, on the wide receiver side on Caden Lee, does he have a spotlight game?
I don't know if it's Caden Lee. I think Deshaun Stribling could be the wide receiver that pops this weekend. He actually started out at Washington State before he transferred to Oklahoma State. So I imagine there's a little bit extra juice in that for him. But I do think this is a Keywan Lacey game. If you look at the video of the Washington State Cougars, they're a little bit, I don't want to say soft, but they have problems on the edges. They're susceptible to the counter. Washington in the Apple Cup actually used that to great effect with Jonah Coleman. I think you might see Ole Miss do a lot of the same stuff, especially with Trinidad Chambliss. There's actually a lot of similarities between Jonah Coleman and Damon Williams and Trinidad Chambliss and Keywan Lacey. I think that might be the way to attack this defense. Washington scored 59 on them. North Texas scored 59 on them. They did a pretty good job against San Diego State, Idaho, and Colorado State, but it's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde situation for the Washington State defense right now.
So talk a little bit about the rest. It's been, you get that bye week, you get that rest. How beneficial has that been for this Ole Miss team? Because this time of the year, everybody's banged up.
Well, I don't think that Ole Miss wanted the bye week this time after that LSU game. I think Ole Miss wanted to keep playing. And I talked to Bill Flowers every week on my show. And Bill Flowers was a wide receiver at Ole Miss back in the early 2000s. He played with Eli. And he said that players hate bye weeks. It doesn't matter how beat up you are. Coaches might talk about late season bye weeks as being a good thing because you can heal up. But players genuinely do not like it because it can kill the continuity. It can kill the rhythm of an offense, especially in the passing game. And if you go back to 2003, Ole Miss played LSU for a chance to win the SEC and get to Atlanta. And Ole Miss had trouble in the passing game, and a lot of that was due to the rhythm being broken up by the week previous having an off week. I think it's good that Ole Miss has an off week before Washington State instead of having an off week before Georgia, if that makes sense.
So what Washington State does, like you talked about it, they throw the ball well, and at times it seems they've shown some strong defensive play. Do you see any potential mismatches that Washington State could try to exploit, and what does Ole Miss have to be on the lookout for? Because even though the three of us know that this should be an Ole Miss route, Lane Kiffin is giving a lot of credit to Washington State, and I'm not trying to say he's being fake humble, but I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, Stephen.
He's doing the coach speak thing, right? He actually said in the teleconference today that the number one team in the SEC is playing the number one team in the Pac-12. Oh, there's only two teams in the Pac-12.
He was trolling because it's only two teams.
It did that. Lane Kiffin is working overtime to make sure that he talks to his team through the media, and he is breaking out every trick that they have because this is a trap game. For real, this is the textbook definition of a trap game. You come off of LSU, everybody tells you how great you are for 2 weeks. Next week is the game at the Georgia Bulldogs that if Ole Miss wins and Georgia beats Auburn, game day could be in town for that. With all of that going on, this is a game against Washington State that Ole Miss just needs to win by 1 point. It doesn't matter. You're number 4 in the country. You have all the style points you need. Just win the football game.
And while, again, that does become a thing, right? So the players, especially with all the social media and all the talk, the players start to hear and how good they are, and you're number 4 in the country, and you got to play Washington State. I mean, I think that is a real challenge for coaches like Lane Kiffin to try to keep their kids, their players focused as you head into the game, because you don't want to slip up against a Washington State. A late season loss like that against a team that's not very good it hurts you a lot.
Yeah, you lost to Kentucky last year in a situation kind of similar, a game that you thought you were going to roll straight through. If this game was in Pullman, if this was a road game, it would be an upset alert game. It legitimately would. Ask Penn State about UCLA.
Yeah.
Whenever you go on the road, it's just a different animal. Ole Miss playing at home helps them out. Honestly, they timed this up pretty well. It might be sloppy. It might not look particularly good. But like I said, just get the win, move on to Georgia, and watch as the season really kind of goes. Because if Ole Miss splits, honestly, against Georgia and Oklahoma, if they split those games, Ole Miss is in the Atlanta talk at that point.
Now, looking at Ole Miss and their success, this is, as we've said many times on the program, this is the best start that they've had in years. How much of their success do you think comes from the offense adapting to the quarterback change to Chambliss versus just straight great individual play across the board?
I don't know too much, and it's not to say that there hasn't been a little bit of jet fuel that's been added to the engine on the offense. Ole Miss dominated Georgia State after 2 interceptions from Austin Simmons. Then they dominated Kentucky after the 2 interceptions that happened in the first quarter. They outscored them 30-13 after that. They've been pretty much an untested football team this year. And that's weird thinking that you played number 4 ranked LSU in 3 conference games that's happened. But if Ole Miss catches interceptions against Arkansas, that's a 41-17 game. If interceptions don't get thrown to where the turnover battle happens, they completely don't even have an issue with the Kentucky Wildcats at any point. And we all saw them take apart the LSU Tigers. They haven't really been tested to this point in the season. Washington State, I'm not expecting that as well, but it's going to get real going on the road to Georgia and to Oklahoma. So you need this game to simulate as best you can to get your players ready to go to Sanford Stadium for that 2:30 kickoff, to go to Oklahoma for that noon kickoff. Because like I said, splitting those games, that's kind of the season if you want to have a really, really special season.
What we haven't really talked about much at this point is, has it gotten weird?
Yeah.
What quarterback talk, for all of us at this point, it's just like Chambliss is just a man and everybody just kind of accepts it. But what's the talk in the locker room?
Are we talking Heisman yet, Stephen?
We are talking Heisman. All the list that comes out, he's about 3 to 7 popping on that list. But listen, in the teleconference today, Lane Kiffin said he hasn't even named a starting quarterback this weekend. So I don't know if Trinidad's going to be the guy, which means they're playing game. They're doing what they're doing. And all of this, by the way, is not for Washington State's benefit. This is for Kirby's benefit. And they're playing games like this, trying to get a quarterback controversy into the Georgia week. If they can make that happen, I think the easiest decision that Lane Kiffin has is that Trinidad Chambliss is going to take the first snap against Washington State. I think that's a slam dunk. I think how that game goes, the question of how do you use Austin Simmons if that game goes really well? How does that look? But the first snap, I think that's a slam dunk. There's no doubt that you start Trinidad Chambliss. But there is a little bit of weirdness that's out there, and we'll see if it kind of goes for about the next week.
It feels like Ole Miss has been Ole Miss fans, I should say, have been kind of spoiled, Steven, because it's like I'm looking at right now, and I've been at every Ole Miss home game, and it's been like 5. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, dang, like it's a lot of games at home. But what I talked to Ruben about is for Chambliss, he's obviously got to take care of business this Saturday. But what is he going to look like when he goes on the road? Like you said, playing UGA and playing OU. So how can we reel things in for fans to have realistic expectations about the season? Because the biggest games now are those 2 road games.
Yeah, and realistic expectations, if we're going to be real at this point, is everything. Everything's on the table for Ole Miss at this point. There's nobody on your schedule that you can't beat. There's no award that you can't win. And that's the thing that's going to be problematic with the Ole Miss fan base, because they are realizing that as well. And going to Georgia and going to Oklahoma, maybe you play those road games with a little bit more confidence. Maybe that's a good thing to have on the road, especially after the game at Florida and at LSU a year ago. Maybe you go into it a little bit differently. Maybe the experience of Trinidad Chambliss, who most everybody at this point is expecting to win the job, is going to take his national championship pedigree and give you a little bit something extra that you didn't have, believe it or not, with the first round quarterback in Jackson Dart. Winning a national championship, it doesn't matter if it's D2, D3, or 6A high school. You have to have a special quarterback that can handle and perform under the circumstances to do that. And that's the reason there's been not a hiccup with Arkansas. There's been not a hiccup with Tulane or LSU, because this is a guy that just figures it out. He has the championship type pedigree. And as that cascades over his other teammates, these elite playmakers that he has, Ole Miss has a chance to be a little bit calmer than they were a year ago. Last year, there was a little bit of a panic. When plan A didn't work, there was not really a plan B. This year, man, he's completing passes to like 9 different receivers in a game. Last year was like 4 or 5. And stuff like that gives me hope going on the road to Sanford Stadium. Gives me hope going on the road to Norman, that they'll be able to handle those environments. I don't expect anybody to be wowed by the moment, but I could be wrong. The last time Ole Miss went over to Georgia, they got 50-burgered. But I don't think that that's going to happen this year.
All right, I haven't heard the term 50-burgered in a long time. Steven, appreciate your time today, brother. As always, great insight as we get ready for this weekend's matchup. Again, should not be close, but hey, crazier things have happened.
I look forward to being at Vaught Hemingway again, Ruben.
Yeah, do your thing. All right,
One more
Steven,
time for a while.
Have a great day. Appreciate you. Don't forget, you can always check out Steven on the Locked On podcast, and he's always on his YouTube channel as well, and you can catch him again on our 24 Plus show, on our 24 Plus app, and it goes always here on our 24th Floor show as well. More on Steven.
See you later, Steven.
Take care.
I don't know. I mean, Ruben said it best.
All right, time for another break. Rich?